Morning guys, welcome back to Derby Koi. Right, this week I want to talk about a couple of things I mentioned in a previous video. Firstly, one of them was my Backy River. I mentioned that I was considering changing it to removing this part and putting some sort of sieve filter. It basically helped me cut down on some of my maintenance. Now, reason being, I have got a very low flow through this Backy River, but I do use these mesh bags, and these act like a sieve. Now, unlike a sieve, they can get blocked very easy. So for me, it's a daily maintenance thing, having to clean out those mesh bags to get any rubbish out of there. So my thinking was get a sieve filter which will do the same job, but it'll cut down on the maintenance. Now, if I want to go away for a weekend, more than a day, anywhere really more than a day, my Easy Pod can cope with that. I can probably get 3 or 4 days before I need to clean that if I cut down on feed, so that's fine. But my top of my Backy River with the mesh bag and the filter flossing, I need to do it at least daily. Now, if I'm going away, I can't do that, so I either have to remove the mesh bag and just leave the filter floss on there, which does catch a lot of it, but it can't catch all of it, or I have to turn that off, which I'd prefer not to do. So my thinking was put the sieve filter in, that will reduce down on that, and I wouldn't have to turn it off, and I could probably get 3, 4, even 5 days out of it because if it's a low flow. And somebody messaged me and said they use the ultra compact 2, I think it was, which is the green filter, sieve filter, which is the one I was actually thinking about because of the size of it in here. It would probably fit perfectly. Now they said it's a really good filter, excellent sieve filter, but again they do have to clean it on a daily basis. Now, if you have a sieve filter, could you let me know in the comments down below, let me know on your cleaning regime and possibly your flow rates through it. I would, if I change this here to a Backy shower, I want to up the flow rate. Obviously it's Backy River, it's a slow flow rate, but if I do change it, I'm thinking after some sort of Backy shower, obviously I want a higher flow rate through it, which means there's going to be more flow through the sieve filter. So what are your thoughts on it? Have you got one? What are your flow rates? How often do you clean it, or have to clean it? Let me know, I'll be really interested. It'll help me hopefully make some decisions. So yeah, if you have got one, let me know what you think of them and how they work for you. I'd really appreciate it. Another thing I mentioned in a recent video was, in the past in here I suffered with flies. When I open my Easy Pod, I get swarms of little flies out, because obviously in the pipework there's larvae and stuff. Now, I mentioned I've been using something to test, and now this is the second season. I started using it last year to see if it helped, but I wanted to make sure from the start of the season if it helped. Now, me personally, I do think it has helped cut them down a lot. Now, in here last year there was a lot of spiders because a lot of flies. I left them in here. I'm not bothered about spiders. It helped, to give them food. Lots of webs. Graham, on the other hand, doesn't like spiders, so he was a bit, I don't like all them spiders. So I started to use these things, what I used, and personally I think they've helped a little bit. They are completely natural for the pond, and I do believe it hasn't stopped them. I'm still getting flies, but I'm not getting anywhere near as many as I did last year, or the start of last year before I started using them. I know we haven't had the temperatures, but we did have a short spell of hot weather outside around the pond and stuff. There was like flies everywhere outside. In here, not so many. Now, what I'm using are these called mosquito dunks. They kill mosquitoes. for organic production. It's an organic production basically. I can't remember what it is, what they made of, because I've ripped half this stuff off the back to get them out. Now, you are supposed to put them in your water somewhere on. It says stagnant water. If it's high flowing water, it doesn't like it so much. So what I do is I get one of these bags. I'll put one in here, and what I've been doing, actually, if you can see it here, in this bag here, take it out to show you, that is my mosquito dunk in there. Now they do break down over time, so if they're not in a bag, you can get a bit of a residue of the stuff that breaks down, and it'll form a ring, it'll float on the surface. So that's why I've got mine in a mesh bag. It's still releasing the products in there, and it's just releasing it into the pond. I think it says it lasts up to 30 days. So I'm trying putting a fresh one in once a month basically. Size of the water, I could put 2 in. I don't think it won't hurt it, but at the moment 1 is doing a job, doing the job for me. It hasn't eradicated them completely. I still get flies, but I don't get anywhere near as many. Whether it's down to those, I don't know. Whether it's down to weather or something else that's changed, but since I started using them last season, it has cut the numbers down on the little flies I get in here. And normally if I open that, I get hundreds of flies come out, and I've probably had 2, maybe 3 fly out of there just. So yeah, I do think it has helped. But as I say, it does say slow flowing water is best. I did, when I first had them, I did just hang it in the pond in one of their mesh bags. I just left it actually hanging in the pond, but it looked unsightly having that mesh bag hanging in there, so I decided to put it in my backy river. Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's working. So there you go. Let me think. Right, yes, that's all I want to talk about. That a couple of jobs I want to do today. My heater, my diesel air heater, I need to sort that out. It's been, I've mentioned it before, I think it's been throwing up an error code, E3 or E8, I can't remember the error code now, but the error code was saying glow plug failure. I did replace the glow plug and it came up the same error code, so I don't think it was that. So I actually contacted the company I had it from, and they said, oh, we'll send you a new glow plug. So I bought a new glow plug, it's still doing the same. Done a bit of research, and they came back to me and they says it could be your motherboard. So they sent me out another motherboard. So I've got to strip it down, and they sent another motherboard, and I've got a just in case it was a dodgy glow plug, I bought another glow plug as well. So just in case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the glow plug and the filter and put the new motherboard in and see what happens. So that's one of the jobs I got to do. I think I'll do that one first. So yeah, let me get that out and do that, and I'll come back to you when I've put it all back together, I think, because messing with that heater, you get lots of soot on your hands, so I don't want to be messing the camera with that. So once I put everything on and in, I'll come back to you just either before I fire it up or when I fire it up. Anyway, hopefully when it's working, so I'll come back to you then. Okay guys, that's the heater all back in. You can get it on, and it's working. Absolutely brilliant. So I'll quickly over here show you what I had to replace now. It came up with a fault, as I said before, to say it's a dodgy glow plug, and I've replaced it with this one before. I bought this glow plug and put this one in, and it still came up with the same code. So I contacted the company, and they said you need one of these. I said I fitted one, and it's still doing it. So what they said, it could potentially be the motherboard. So what they did, this is the one I've just taken out, this is the motherboard part. They sent me a replacement motherboard for it, and another one of these. Well, it was a kit, so it came with that and a new mesh. This was the mesh I've had to, it's a bit damaged, but this is the one I've taken out. This is the atomizer mesh, So what I've done, I'm unsure exactly what the problem was, whether it was just this glow plug, I don't know, this one that I put in. So I changed new atomizer screen, new glow plug and new motherboard, fired it up, not an issue, bang, straight away, sorted. So I'm going to leave this running now in here to burn anything off. It's been sat for a while, and I'm actually, I think I might leave it on, because I'm going to leave it on at 12 and I'll pick it up to 14 I think for now, because it is supposed to be summer and it's been bloody freezing, especially on the night. So I'm going to leave that running all night, get the temp back up in air. I mean, it's like I say, this is well insulated with the roof and everything else, and all insulation. And this tank, what we at, 20, just under 22 degrees, and this is supposed to be summer. So I'm going to try and get some temp back up in here. With that running now, it's soon going to get the temp back up in here. So over the moon, that's working now. Fairly easy fix. Didn't have to buy the motherboard. I sent one out. I just had to pay a bit of postage. Job's a good one. Right guys, it's a few days later now. The heater, I think that's where I finished off last time. Got the heater up and running. Since I've had it up and running, I haven't turned it off, to be honest. I mean, this is supposed to be bloody summer. What's going on? Oh my god, wind, rain, bloody cold. I mean, I think today's like 14, 15 degrees out there, and it's ridiculous. So on the night, the temperature's really dropping down again. I think we've had some nighttime temperatures below 10 up here, so it's been a bit chillier of a night. So I decided to leave the heater running, which is the reason why. Knock my food off. But you can see that in here it's 28 degrees in here, which is why I'm in my t-shirt. Let me just pick this food up. Right, yeah, so I've left the heater running. I've only got it set at 14. I left it at 14 and it's just on tick over. And I've got to say, since I put the new motherboard in, I know it makes the motherboard is what helps with the flow rate of the diesel pump, the pulse rate. But since I've put that in, I've noticed it's used a lot less diesel. I know the temperatures aren't as low as they have been in the winter, but I have had it on before it starts to play up. When after the winter, as it starts to warm up and the temperatures are around what it is now, another night, and I'm using a lot more diesel. So it'll be interesting to see in the winter if it's using less diesel than it did last winter. I've filled up the diesel tank to test it, and in 24 hours I used just over 1 litre of fuel, and in the past I think it was close to 2, maybe even over 2 litres a day. Yes, when the temperatures were really dropping, the heater comes up higher and blows a bit more to keep some of the temperatures up, but I'm being an interesting one to see. But I haven't turned it off, it hasn't missed a beat. So it's 28 in here and the water is at 24. Very happy with the water. Right, talking of the fish and water, when I was down at Vince's, the Kai Tube event, I had the opportunity to speak to Rick from New Forest Kai. He knows his stuff. He knows, he's a very knowledgeable man. So I had a bit of a chance to pick his brains. Here at Zuri, I've got one of them. I showed it in my video where I measured them up. How much size it's put on in less than 8 weeks. I think it was something like 8 or 9 centimeters, compared to the other ones which put like 4 or 5 centimeters on. It might have been less than that actually, but I was concerned that it was growing too quick. For such a young fish, it was growing too quick, and it was going to start to break up the patterning a little bit on the sumi. It was starting to break up and go more speckly. But after speaking to Rick with his advice, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to leave it in here. He says obviously in here, yes, I've got the polycarbonate roof, but it's not letting the UV light through. It's not going to hurt him in any way. He recommended leaving him in here for probably another 6 to 8 weeks. Try and get as much growth as I can out of him in that time, and then hopefully we'll have some warmer weather outside, and the pond water temperature is going to come up a bit, so I then acclimate him into the outside pond for the autumn, and then harden him up through the winter. And obviously with more UV light, natural UV light, that will bring some of the sumi back out in him. He said with sumi, you can lose it, you can break up because of lack of natural UV light, but it can come back, and it can stretch out, but it shouldn't be an issue. He did say if you've got something like a kahaku or something like that that's growing very quick, and the benny starts to break and speckle up, that's where you could have issues, and you might not be able to get that back so much. But he said he couldn't see an issue with that one, but I'm really pleased on the growth. So like I said, I had a great chat with him, really knowledgeable man. So Rick, if you're watching this, thank you very much for taking time to speak to me and helping me out. I really do appreciate it. Right, moving on. I don't know if I said at the start of the video now what I said at the start. I did have somebody asked me a question about scraping. How difficult is it to scrape a smaller fish like a tozai size? Again, it all depends on the fish. If it's a boisterous fish, it's just very difficult. A smaller fish that's nice and placid, it's easier to scrape than it's. For me personally, I use a smaller scrape card. So what I'm going to do, as you know, I've had Costa in here 2 or 3 times now, so I have got salt in there, keeping the salt level up. I should do need to check what that level's at to make sure I'm okay. But because being tozai as well, that are not as hardy as the big ones, they can get affected by certain parasites a lot easier and a lot quicker. So on a fairly regular basis, not all the time, maybe once a fortnight, I will get one of them out and I will give it just a quick scrape just to check. Especially I normally get one of the smaller ones out, not the smallest. I don't want to stress them out. I mean, as I said, I got my Hitzuris like 35, 36 cm, something like that, and some of the shagwais are that size, so then I don't get those out to scrape like that. I'll probably get, let's have a look what's in here, maybe an Akamatsuba or one of the Kahakus, possibly. We'll see. I don't know yet. We'll see which one I can catch. But I will get one of the smaller ones out and show you how I scrape it. Sometimes I do it in the net, sometimes I do it in the bowl. Again, it depends on the fish. If it's a very boisterous fish and is constantly trying to escape, I'll do it in the net. I think that's a little bit safer than in the bowl. It's a little bit more confined, so I've got a little bit of control on it. So depending on which fish I get out is depending on where I will do it, in the bowl or in the net. So yeah, let's get one out and we'll have a look. Okay guys, so when I do my scrapes, if I'm doing a bigger fish, I'll use a card about that size. It's just an old credit type card. But for the tozai, because especially if it's one of the really small ones and I hold it in my hand, it can be a bit awkward with the bigger cards. So I've got this little keyring card, a flexible card, and I use these for the smaller fish. Okay, so in here at the moment, I've got my kikisui in here. Now, I'm using him in net because he can be a little bit boisterous, this one, and I find in the net, because if I'm holding him here and he wants to flip around and it jumps out, it's the side of this, it's not going to hurt him. In the bowl, it can possibly hurt himself, and here, you know, if anything happens, I can control him a little bit more. So hopefully he's not going to be too boisterous, so I can catch him. You can see he's a little bit boisterous. Again, all I do with this one, I hold him in my, so I don't want to hold him too tight, he's only small. So I hold him, I scrape along the back, up to his gills, along the gills, and then if I can I turn him over and I scrape along the bottom, side and top. Now I don't know if you can see down there, just enough, that will give me just enough mucus on there. I don't do it hard, just lightly, just give me just enough mucus there to do a little scrape. That's all I do on these. As I said, I will do these on a regular basis because again, it's such a confined small amount of water. I want to be careful more on parasites. So I have upped my regime on doing the scrapes in here. I'll only scrape one fish. If I don't find nothing, I won't scrape anything else unless I know there's an issue. So for that, it's going to be more than enough for me to scrape. So just put that down so I don't lose it and get him back in. As I say, with the bigger fish, I will use the bigger scrape card, and depending on which fish it is, sometimes I will do it in the bowl as well. But I find the net can be just as easy, and I find it a little bit safer. So hopefully that helps you with the question you asked, and yeah, that's how I do my fish. Okay, there they are back in, or he's back in, or she, whatever it is. As I said, I do get them out periodically just to check them over, especially the smaller ones, to make sure there's no issues. Because in this, as I said, in this type of size of water, especially with something like Costia, it can take hold very quick, and the liplins can suffer a lot quicker than the bigger ones. So I do get some of the smaller ones out to check. So as I just showed you on that scrape, that's just how I do it. I find it a little bit easier in the net for me personally. Others may do it differently. Obviously, if there's an issue or I need to treat the fish or anything like that, I will put it in the bowl to treat, or if I want to measure it and look over it that way. But just for scrapes, I do it in the net. In a bowl, if I want to do it a bit more of a thorough check-up and go over it a little bit more, I will do that in the bowl. But I did check the scrape and I found absolutely nothing. So I won't get another one out because I haven't seen any issues, any flashing or anything. So, and I can't see any clamp fins and things like that, so I won't get any more out. I just want to, as I say, it's probably every 2 weeks, something like that, I will get one of them out and just give them a light scrape. So yeah, all good. Right, as I said, all good in there, scrape come out perfect. Now, I am getting very close to a special day for Derby Koi. Very shortly, it will actually be my 3rd year birthday to the day that I put my first video out, very shortly. And on that day, I will be, all being well, I'll have a very special little guest, a VIP guest, that I'm really looking forward to the visit. And I know Busy is looking forward to the visit on that day as well, so that's going to be a very special day, and that one's coming up very soon. Right, all going well, fabulous. I have got to do my filters on the main one now. I'm going to get them and clean them, check over. Definitely got to get the upflow clean, that needs a clean. And as I say, daily thing for me at the moment is my filter floss and stuff, so that's got to be done. So yeah, as I said before, with the sieve filter, if you've got one and they work, and let me know about them, what you think of them, what's your cleaning regime, how much stuff's it getting out, what are your flow rates, things like that. Just, it'll really help me out on deciding whether that's the route to go down if I decide to change to a backy shower. I may not have a backy shower and keep the backy river, keep the flow rate low, and if that's the case, I'm sure it'll probably be fine on such a low flow rate. But let me know, I'd really appreciate it. So that's it for now. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Hit that bell for your notifications. Check me out on Instagram and Facebook. Until the next one, stay safe. Jobs are good.